A story we've been covering extensively tonight. The ANC's Chaplain General, Reverend Hlengiwe Mkhana, will not officiate the party's annual January the 8th statement. The party has announced this, saying it's disappointed by the utterances of the veteran pastor. The Reverend was recorded in conversation with another man, questioning why a female reverend with large breasts should be ordaining a male minister. Here is an excerpt we brought to you earlier. Let's just remind viewers who are just tuning in, this is in Xhosa, and then we'll do a rough translation.
African theologian. Whatever rubbish you me
But how do we address that?
So essentially questioning whether women should be allowed to ordain other priests, whether that is valid, and those breasts come up. Here is roughly what he's saying in English. What woman is this? Busy touching the chests of men. Leave the book. How would you feel to have a woman touching you, ordaining you? He asks his fellow, what do the wives of these men say watching their husbands being touched by a woman? We have to redo them. We will reaffirm them, call them again. Essentially, they would need to be reordained. Have you ever seen a boy anoint men? He says, what man has been anointed by a woman? There is no man that has ever been anointed by a woman. Futsak. All right, so we're now joined to discuss further Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize on the line from Durban, the national convener of the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa. Professor, your response to this incredible recording?
Hey. Well, of course, I must say, as members of the Progressive Women's Movement, we really have been shocked and disgusted by such utterances. I will tell you what shocked us in our conversations. Firstly, we looked at the standing and the track record of Reverend Mehana, and we started saying, if a person at that level still holds such views at a deeper level, because, articulating them is the least thing he did. But we looked at the attitudes and the beliefs he had, and we said, where are we going? Are we going 20 steps forward and 20 steps back? So that has been really disgusting. But also, from a transformation point of view, I think this has been a struggle since the 80s, or maybe even before, within the church, whereby women were trying to get into these positions which were traditionally held by men. So we felt that Reverend Mehana at this level, it means he doesn't support that struggle. He has a feeling for women. Women, for him, are not equal to men. The mere fact that he thinks they cannot robe or dress the church clothes, the dressed men, it shows that he has a feeling he's not where the whole transformation theology is supposed to be taking the church to. Even Methodism, we felt that he's not where he's not thinking in line with the ideology of his own faith as well.
Yeah. Professor, while you're with us, I just want to explain a picture that we've brought up on the screen of a female minister, the one he was talking about, who, just because of her anatomy, in Reverend Mehana's, Bishop Mehana's mind, she got too close to men, and this didn't seem to be right in his mind. Professor, your members include women group leaders, and church members. Are they surprised by this?
They are actually angered. We have women bishops as part of the Progressive Women's Movement who were shocked that we still here were dealing with the objectification of a woman's body and seen as having a breast instead of looking at their identity. These are not ordinary women. These are women who have gone through a lot of training over years within the church to be where they are. But from the conversation, they are just sexually objectified as women with a breast, and they are not supposed to be too close to men. But there's no similar reference to men, how close, whether it's appropriate or inappropriate for them when they are robing in or dressing women. So it's problematic in a variety of ways. As I've said, looking at what is happening in society and sometimes within the church at large, if you hear such utterances, then it doesn't give a sense of hope. And it's happening after high-level presidential summit, which was really talking to these issues of gender equality and showing how, in the absence of that respect for women as women's rights, you end up with the worst forms of sexual crimes against women. So I haven't heard, I don't know what is going on, but I think it's a big challenge, even for the Methodist Church. Yeah. It will have to go far beyond being shocked like all of us and really take a deep look at the kind of workshops they need for their church leaders at all levels, so as to ensure that whoever is sitting and having such attitudes and views is assisted. Because remember, the majority of the people who sustain the very Methodist Church are women. The strongest organization there is women, umanyano. Whether there's death or there's the church life as a whole, the majority of people who sustain that life, the life of the church, are women.
We spoke to the Methodist Church earlier, Professor. They say that a disciplinary process is underway. They couldn't even say that he would not be barred from officiating at a church service this Sunday. And, you know, he's the ANC's chaplain general. He's officiated at a very high level. Given the strength of his views, he must have, do you agree with me, he must have expressed them before, even to other male colleagues in the church, and that means he's been protected.
Well, you know, he might have had an inner circle of people that he talked to. But now that we know, the question is, can we turn a blind eye, look away, and say, well, there's a due process, let's see what will be the outcome, or we have to be decisive and say, look, you cannot stand in front of women having said this. As to what will be the outcome of a due process is something completely different. Because I'm telling you, if we say we will allow Reverend Mehana to continue with his work, and it will be business as usual, till such time, whatever time it might take, then we'll go by the decision. And for me, that will be a cowardice approach and something which it doesn't give a sense of hope to women that he touched a red line, even from the church point of view.
Yeah. Professor, can you comment on his comments on African culture? Just listen to this. He says, I'm Tembu and an African theologist. I don't care what you call it patriarchy or gender insensitivity. So he knows what he's doing. He's rejecting the PC-ness, I guess, that doesn't understand African culture.
Well, you know, in South Africa, we come from an apartheid era where really all sorts of belief systems were used to oppress people, to repress other people. The usual will be race, will be gender. But we have a kind of constitution which took away such wrong beliefs. We are now a signatory to I don't know how many instruments internationally which talks to equality. So that's why it's really, really, really giving one cause for concern if with all those, and I'm sure he has presided in meetings where we're celebrating the move we're taken towards gender equality and women's rights, and for him to simply dismiss all our efforts to dignify all citizens, including women, and say they have equal rights, it's worrying. That's why I'm saying it's almost like being in denial if we say, no, there's nothing which you can really do. There's a due process. It's like something out of these utterances tell us that he's not where we are as a country and even as a continent.
Jesus himself showed deep respect for women. Now, this is a high-ranking member of the church, like you say, reflecting society. What would you say, Professor, to men out there maybe listening who think women are not equal to them? That's the way they've been brought up.
Yeah, I think especially for the church, really they'll have to convince all of us as to what steps do they take to deal with such attitudes. Because failure to do that, any superficial approach will not help the cause of the church at all. Remember, the church is a symbol of hope, especially within the African community. Almost everybody still goes to church. So it's something which has to be taken very seriously, sad as it is, but maybe it has come to the fore so as to compel the church leadership to really tackle head-on issues of transformation and retraining even of the clergy, so as to ensure that even the scriptures are not interpreted to suit the mindset, which is highly problematic and has led to all sorts of problems in society, where women were seen just as objects, and women are abused, are beaten, are raped. You know, all sorts of things have happened to women because they are not seen to be equal to men. They are not seen to be deserving equal respect. So this challenge we have, it has forced the church to take a clear stand. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, the Methodist Church will have to give us that sense of hope as to what they will be doing to ensure that never again do they keep people with such attitudes and beliefs to minister to so many people.
All right, thank you for your time this evening, Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, National Convener of the Progressive Women's Movement of South Africa. Now to other news. The family of one of the 3 women who died during a stampede at Prof.